Aron looking to put the team on its back, tasked with a very difficult 1v3. Aron wastes no time, fires off the Rock Tomb, even resisted, removing Annihilate from the field of play. Out comes the Dene. Zach gonna overfarm, fire off the next Rock Tomb. Whilst this won't be lethal, it will leave the opponent low. The opponent then pivots out, trying to make a catch. Catch attempt unsuccessful. Zach farms up to the double body slam, and we all know how this one's gonna end. Welcome back to the channel. Season 23 gave us a ridiculously good move update that at the start of the season I was super hyped for. Let's be honest, game state the past few weeks have been pretty dreadful. Motivation has somewhat fallen off, but there's a couple of sleeper picks that you might not have even realised got a huge buff this season. The first Pokemon we're taking a look at is a perfect 100% IV, level 50 Shadow Aron. This Pokemon's been buffed back-to-back seasons. It's got access to Rock Tomb, arguably one of the best charge moves in the game that was buffed in Season 22. And it's now got access to Metal Sound, another very viable Steel-type quick move. Aron happens to share the same defensive typing as my least favourite Pokemon, Bastiodon, being a Rock and Steel type. With a meta full of ground types, you certainly need something to cover that weakness. That brings us on to our next buff Pokemon, the pre-evolution of Superior, and that is Servine. We all know Superior can be an absolute menace in this meta due to the fact it's got fantastic charge moves and very respectable bulk. Servine has even more bulk. It's actually got a 2100 stat product that's kind of ridiculous. The buff move it's using is Wrap. Whilst we don't see Wrap being used by too many Pokemon, it's actually a pretty good charge move. It's a normal type clone of Icy Wind. However, instead of debuffing the opponent's attack, you get that a defense drop instead. As if today's featured battle of Poryzak wasn't already pulling off enough crazy shenanigans, rounding today's team off, we've got Shadow Dragonite, no superpower with Hurricane instead. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we see a scuffed matchup. The opponent running Acid as a quick move, hitting for triple resisted, essentially doing nothing, but they're very spammy to these Aqua Tails that in turn do hit for super effective. Zach tanks one, fires off the Rock Tomb does monstrous damage, but then able to catch the next Aqua Tail onto Servine, saving Aron at decent health with residual energy good to go. The Servine save switch is answered by Primate. The opponent goes straight for a Rage Fist. And I said this thing's bulking, you're about to see just how bulky that Rage Fist doesn't do much of anything, and we're going straight for the Wrap, looking to apply that very annoying defense debuff. Primate invests the protection, and even these Vine Whips are starting to chunk. The opponent fire off the next Rage Fist as soon as they get it, and potentially Dragonite can now farm down with the -1 defense before they even reach another Rage Fist. Blink and you might miss it. Dragonite hands out that impressive fast move beatdown. Out comes Dust Noir. The opponent tried to sack Dragalge. Zach not falling for any of that shenanigans. He then pivots into Aron, fires off the Rock Tomb, and this is absolutely game over. The opponent recognises it, tank the damage, and we take that game. In the next battle, we find ourselves a dreadful lead. Shadow Swampert, we say switch into Dragonite. That definitely is not all that safe of a switch. However, it goes kind of unpunished as out comes Altaria. Very kind of the opponent to give us a huge energy lead, meaning we're going to reach back-to-back Dragon Claws, and if the opponent wants to maintain alignment, it's going to cost them both Protect Shields here in the mid-game matchup. The opponent goes all in on Altaria, investing both Protect Shields. We can now send out Aron. Aron doesn't really care about whatever Altaria is going to throw. They should in theory go for a Moonblast. It would be single resisted as opposed to Sky Attack that's actually double resisted in this matchup. We see Zach displaying a very high gameplay IQ. He's not actually lagging it, he's intentionally not attacking. And the reason for that is we don't want the opponent to send out Swampert and get yet more energy. Switch timer's up, we see the pivot into Servine, baiting out Venusaur. In this battle of grass types, usually Venusaur would be favoured with access to Sludge Bomb, but Zach has a 2-0 shield advantage. The opponent go for the Frenzy Plant bait, but Servine, Vine Whipping away, gonna reach the next Wrap, and tell this Venusaur that no bait is ever saving their fate. Wrap gets the opponent low, Servine able to get the double resisted Vine Whip farm down. This game should be in the bag. The only lose con for us, the opponent somehow able to make a catch back onto Altaria. Zach continuing to Vine Whip away. There's the attempted catch. Catch attempt unsuccessful. And Zach is able to take that game. Very well played. In the next battle, we see the Dene in the lead position. These Metal Sounds are hitting for neutral and doing quite a lot of neutral damage at that. The opponent fire off the Parabolic Charge, buffing up their defense. Aron says, I see your defense buff, and I raise you an attack debuff. Rock Tomb affords the protection, and we see the pivot into Servine. Our Servine save switch answered by Dusclops. Servine does have access to Grass Knot that would hit for a lot of neutral damage in this matchup. We're actually opting for Leaf Tornado. Leaf Tornado, not really good for damage output, but can potentially force a double debuff on opponent's attack, meaning they can essentially do no damage. Servine fires off yet another Leaf Tornado. Dusclops' damage output, pretty pitiful at the best of the time, and this is quite painful to watch. Dusclops fires off yet another super effective Ice Punch that still doesn't get the job done. Zach smells the opportunity to invest a Protect Shield, fully Vine Farm down, and potentially debuff whatever comes back out. The Dene re-enters the arena and its defense is instantly going to get dropped, tanking this incoming Wrap. Wrap goes unshielded, then see the Simul swap of Aron into Diggersby. Zach going to apply yet another debuff, debuffing Diggersby's at non-existent attack. No, the opponent's thrown on CMP as well. Fire Punch will be moving us from the field of play, and if you're Dragonite here, you just fully Dragon Breath farm down. This Diggersby literally can't hurt you. Fire Punch, single resisted, Scorching Sands, double resisted. Opponent fire off the Scorching Sands, that does absolutely nothing. The opponent's had enough, and they are going to concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Cradilly in the lead position, a commanding lead regardless of quick moves, but as they're on Bullet Seed, they do have at least some counterplay. The opponent say switches into Nidoqueen gets instantly debuffed, and Dragonite hits the field of play. I like that Rock Tomb first, as Dragonite is very glassy. And as that Poison Fang was at -1, Dragonite doesn't need to shield and can still get the Dragon Breath farm down afterwards. Out comes Blastoise, and we are straight off the bat YOLOing the Hurricane. Hurricane! No, why would you shield that? Big man Blastoise is such a tank in the Great Yard. I'd love to have seen that Shadow Hurricane land. We send out Servine. Oh my days, the opponent actually had Ice Beam. Most run Skull Bash. I definitely wouldn't have respected anything there, but Zach invested a huge Protect Shield. The opponent then pivot into Cradilly. We send out Aron. The opponent fire off a Rock Tomb that is resisted, and we're going to return fire of our own Rock Tomb that does hit for neutral, as Rock doesn't resist itself. Aron's resistance to Rock, of course, does come from its Sub-Steel typing. The opponent fire off yet another Rock Tomb, which I think is a huge mistake. It just sets up a massive farm down for Aron. Meaning this Blastoise is about to get permanently debuffed. We fire off the Rock Tomb goes unshielded. We pivot into Servine, fire off the Leaf Tornado, and I imagine the opponent just let this go, recognising they cannot win the match. They do exactly that, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Aron into Furry, a neutral matchup. The opponent is going to have to fire off a Trailblaze that would hit for neutral. The Swift would be double resisted. Zach has other ideas, farms up, makes the catch. Onto Servine, where the Trailblaze does absolutely nothing. A very nice catch, but immediately hard punished as out comes Lurantis. Servine getting absolutely torn to shreds by these Fury Cutters. However, he's going to fire off a Wrap, forcing a debuff on Lurantis' defense and also doing some decent neutral damage. Leaf Blade, even resisted, removes us from the field of play. Dragonite attempts to Dragon Breath farm down, but unable to do so before the Superpower is reached. Superpower was supposed to be resisted, but still did half our health, as Dragonite cannot take a hit to save its life. Out comes Clodsire. Zach actually going to YOLO the Hurricane on what looks like to be a charge attack priority. Come on, trainer, it's just a Dragon Claw. Hurricane picks up that one-hit KO. Holy, get that Clodsire off my screen. I was not expecting it to pick up a one-hit KO, but here we are. We see the quick switch into Aron. Aron looks to go to work. We fire off the Rock Tomb, not only forcing a Protect Shield, but permanently debuffing this Pharaoh. We then fire off the Body Slam. The opponent stops attacking, probably bamboozled, thinking, what the heck just happened? Well, what happened, trainer, is you fucked about, you found out. GG's. In the next battle, we see Dusknoir in the lead position, some Shadow and Shadow Crime, and we get a huge amount of lag as well, so I'm not really sure where our energy or the opponent's energy is at. We correctly showed up a Dynamic Punch that definitely would have picked up the one-hit KO, as that is double super effective. The opponent then pivots out into Beedrill. Going to shield up the Rock Tomb, and at this point looks like Zach happy of Aron's contribution. Drill Run, double super effective. It does remove us from the field of play. Dragonite can resist everything here, unless on the off chance they're on a Sludge Bomb. But I think X-Scissor and Drill Run's definitely the moveset you're looking for. The opponent is on that moveset. We're actually unable to Dragon Breath farm down before the next X-Scissors reach, which is absolutely brutal, as we're forced to burn a Protect Shield here in the mid-game matchup. Back out comes Dusknoir. Again, the Hurricane lands. Holy moly. Oh my gosh, the Marowak in the back. Another game flipped on its head by landing that huge surprise nuke, and the opponent concedes the match. Heading into the next battle, we see another type neutral matchup. The bug bites are resisted, much like the metal sounds, but Rock Tomb and either Water Pulse or Bubble Beam in return will both hit the super effective. Zac strikes first. Rock Tomb, very respectable damage. This bug is insanely thick. Bubble Beam in return, a very underwhelming damage, but an aggressive pivot into Lucario. We almost lose our entire Aron just off a few counters. I think here we probably should have went Dragonite, but in fairness, I've definitely been in a situation like this where I just panic switched into anything and desperately tried to save my lead. This Lucario is just continuing to ramp up and could very quickly get out of hand, as Zac going to shield the low health Servine and just look to get off some damage. The opponent's already shielded once. Hopefully this Wrap goes unshielded. We need damage on this thing. Wrap does go unshielded. Dragonite hits the field of play and able to get the Dragon Breath farm down. Back out comes Araquanid, which is a huge mistake from the opponent, as all that's done is feed Dragonite free energy. The opponent then sends out Jellicent. We farm the Hurricane, and this time we're actually going to go for the Dragon Claw bait. Dragon Claw forces the opponent's final Protect Shield on the charge attack priority. I believe this is only a Surf, but even Surf would probably be lethal from here. Can Zac outpace to the Hail Mary Hurricane? No, he cannot, but he's able to make the catch him back onto Aron. Surf removes us from the field of play. Dragonite going to reach for the Hurricane. Is it necessary? Probably not, but we love to see it, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Aron into Dusclops, a pretty neutral matchup. This is probably favour for Aron the longer it goes on and the more shields that are invested, as we're going to continue to debuff the already pretty pitiful attack stat. Zac tanked the first Shadow Punch, which probably means he looks about the zero shield scenario. If you're going to invest a protection when you've got a debuffer, you likely shield the first move as it would do the most damage. Zac lands the Rock Tomb, tanks the next Shadow Punch, able to survive the hexes and reach the next Rock Tomb that should help us win the zero shield scenario. Rock Tomb actually forces the protection. We see the aggressive pivot into Servine. The opponent's now 2-stage attack drops. Even an Ice Punch won't do much of anything despite being super effective. Servine really flexing its bulk today. These Ice Punches aren't doing much. The second Ice Punch does put us below half health, but Servine tanks both and gets a massive Vine Whip farm down. The opponent sends out Moltres. Moltres instantly get debuffed by the Wrap, and I anticipate us pivoting into Dragonite. Zac's actually going to stay in and fire off one further Wrap. The opponent's already down one protection. This probably goes unshielded. It does go unshielded. We see the pivot into Dragonite. The opponent has the same idea, and Drapion hits the field of play. The opponent doesn't even farm up to the crunch, probably assuming as we've got two shields, we're going to start shielding absolutely everything. Zac, like, you think I'm shielding a non-stab Aqua Tail trainer? Nah. We fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw goes unshielded. Zac going to be able to Dragon Breath farm down the remainder of the team, and this one does end in victory. Heading into the next battle, this time we see Drapion in the lead position. Whilst the Poison Stings are triple resisted, Drapion paces at only 8 turns or 4 quick moves to each of these Aqua Tails that do hit for super effective. Again, we see Zac not shield the first move, fire off the Rock Tomb, and he's actually the one that forces shield advantage here in the opening matchup. The opponent then aggressively send up Marowak, and here comes Dragonite. Dragonite going to invest to protect shield. I was thinking in my head that is definitely a Bone Club bait, but what do I know, the opponent actually full sent the Rock side, then settle for the double resisted Bone Club, which is the easiest no shield of Zac's GBL career. Dragonite now gets the farm there, leaving with a whole heap of residual energy good to go. Drapion re-enters the arena. It's going to be greeted with a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw forced to protect shield. Out comes Lapras. YOLO it, Zac. YOLO it. We don't YOLO the nuke. We actually sack Aron. I don't dislike that play, but I would have loved to see a Hurricane land at some point. The opponent fire off the Sparkle Aria. We now send out a Servine. A Servine going to race to the Leaf Tornado. Leaf Tornado probably isn't lethal because it is an absolutely shit move. Leaf Tornado doesn't get the knockout, but it definitely puts them in a range where we can just Dragon Breath farm down. The opponent fire off a Sparkle Aria that simply doesn't get the job done. Back out comes Drapion. Trainer, this is so over. The opponent go for yet another Aqua Tail bait. Why? I have no idea. Zac actually allows himself to get fully farmed down. Like, Trainer, I'm going to show you my second move. It's Hurricane, and you better believe it's going to be picking up that one hit KO. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Azumarill in the lead position. We're kind of obliged to stay in here as we are ABA weak. The opponent pivot into Shadow Cacturn. These sucker punches doing an absolute number on our Aron. Aron going to fire off the Rock Tomb. A Rock Tomb, a forced to protection. It looks like we're just going to sack Aron and look to pick our alignment in the back. The opponent fire off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze removes us from the field of play. Out comes Dragonite. Dragonite able to get the Dragon Breath farm down, but at a cost of almost half its health. Back out comes a Azumarill. This has got to land. Who shields a move from Dragonite if you're a Azumarill? Hurricane does very respectable damage, and we see the pivot into Servine. Whatever's in the back, clearly not a fan of grass, and the opponent conceded the match. Yikes, that is an awful lead. This time we're going to say switch into Dragonite. Again, to be honest, this isn't really too hard punished as Ferrothorn hits the field of play. The opponent has thrown 5. This could be a Thunder, and it is a Thunder. Non-stab, but my gosh, Dragonite did not tank that well whatsoever. Zach fired off the Dragon Claw bait. We could have potentially committed to the Hurricane here, but it looks like he's just trying to get off any chip damage he can. The next Dragon Claw does get the opponent into the red health range, and Dragonite's putting quite a lot of work here in the mid-game matchup. We send out Aron. Aron is going to be able to get the farm down, but it's going to be dead weight against that Gastron. We need Servine to be ABA good into this team. Oh gosh, that's a fire type in the back. This has got to be GG's. Potentially Leaf Tornado gives us a chance here. We fire off the Leaf Tornado. Right on cue. There's the double attack drop. We're going to fire off yet another Leaf Tornado. This has got to go shielded, right? Trainer, why aren't you shielded? Potentially we've got a chance here. I think our play is just double shield at both Rock Tombs and then try and snipe with the Metal Sounds from Aron. Zach does invest both Protect Shield. I'm anticipating the snipe. We actually bank a charge move before sending out Aron. Snipe attempt unsuccessful, and back out comes Gastrodon. That Rock Tomb actually did decent damage considering it's resisted. The opponent looks for the full Mud Slap farm down, unable to get it. Aron reaches the Body Slam. Body Slam forces the opponent's final protection. This is going to come down to a charge attack priority. Servine able to win the charge attack priority. Leaf Tornado will be moving them from the field of play. The opponent gets Vine Whip farm down. I can't quite believe it. That one ends in victory. I honestly thought we were cooked. Holy. In the next battle, we see Komo in the lead position. Despite Rock Tomb being resisted, it probably does about as much as a non-stab Body Slam, as Body Slam is a pretty awful move nowadays in Season 23. In previous seasons, it was a pretty good move, one of the best 35 energy charge moves in the game. Back when it did 60 damage, nowadays it only does 50. Zach happy with his shield advantage. The opponent fire off the close combat. Close combat removes us from the field of play. We send out Dragonite, look for the farm down, and the opponent sends out the annoying Steel Snake, and here comes Servine. It's kind of ironic that I call Steelix the annoying Steel Snake. I nickname it that because it's one of these Pokemon with very annoying debuff moves, but our Grass Snake's probably even more annoying, having 2 moves also with a debuff chance. Despite this mid-game matchup looking like David versus Goliath, I think David, aka the Grass Snake, definitely favoured as our quick move hits for neutral, whereas theirs is resisted. We're able to fire off the Leaf Tornado, removing Steelix from the field of play. Out comes Scizor. Scizor instantly going to be debuffed by the Wrap. Wrap doesn't do much damage, but does debuff their defense, meaning these Dragon Breaths are just going to shred through their HP. Dragonite invests to Protect Shield, blocking up the Night Slash. The opponent looks to reach one more, unable to do so. Dragonite leaves with the Dragon Claw, and that is going to be all she wrote with Dragonite on cleanup duty. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. What a beautiful lead. Hello, Wigglytuff. Nice to see you nice. The opponent says switch into Marowak. This is probably some bullshit double Mud Slap team. And if that's the case, it's going to be RPS for the win. We see the opponent desperate to realign, but this is not a matchup you're flipping, especially when you're going to throw Bone Clubs at a Grass type trainer. Honestly, the opponent like, I'm going to throw another Bone Club. Zach's like, keep them coming, trainer. That simply is not going to cut it. Servine going to over farm. Actually look for the full farm down, recognising yet another Bone Club isn't going to cut it. We're going to leave a whole heap of residual energy good to go and leave minimal farm for that likely return in Wigglytuff. If it's a second Mud Slapper, I think the second we send out Dragonite, it's going to be GG's and thanks for playing. aka the opponent's going to top left, recognising this nonsense team isn't going to be tapping his way through this one. We fire off the first Wrap, land the second Wrap, leaving Wigglytuff on fractional HP. We send out Aron, and it's actually a Bastiodon in the back. Not the team I was expecting, but let's see what Aron can do here. These Metal Sounds do hit for neutral, and we do resist the Smackdowns. Dragonite literally has nowhere to run into this team. Well, it could have been into Marowak, potentially. But of course, hindsight is 50-50. Although, hold that thought, Zach's like, I've got used to the Dragonite catching a double debuffed resisted flamethrower. What a play, Zach. Just playing with his food at this point. We're going to fire off the Hurricane. Hurricane, double resisted, but easily going to pick up the knockout. Back out comes Wigglytuff. The opponent does get that full tap, charm down, farm down, and they're playing it out to the very bitter end. Zach with 2 shields, not interested in shielding up the incoming Swift, and that is a 2 shield flex. GG's. In the next battle, we see Gligar in the lead position. Despite the type disadvantage in this matchup, not actually a bad matchup for Aron, as they're likely running Fury Cutter or potentially Wing Attack, and both quick moves would be resisted. The opponent Sage Switch into Feraligatr. We send out Servine, invest a massive Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Ice Beam. The opponent doesn't commit to the next Ice Beam, just set off the Hydro Cannon. This should enable a full Vine Whip farm down. Servine gets that farm down, which actually is going to leave minimal farm for the returning Gligar, which is best case scenario. We fire off the wrap, the first one, that doesn't do much, but subsequent ones after that will do more after the defense debuff. The second wrap, Force of Protection, the opponent sends out Jellicent. Unfortunately, able to snipe, we just miss out on the Leaf Tornado. We send out Dragonite, farm up, make the catch, back onto Aron. Aron shows respectable bulk, tanking that Shadow Ball reasonably well. Aron then farms up, traps the opponent into the CMP tie. They do not win. A shout out the GOAT, Home Slice Henry as always. Rock Tomb leaves the opponent deep in the red health range. Surf removes us from the field of play. Dragonite able to Dragon Breath farm down, and it's going to be a race to back-to-back charge moves. An argument here could be made that you should tank the first move on the off chance to run Night Slash, because they throw the Night Slash and get the boost. The second one, if they're able to outpace, would probably be lethal, but Dragonite able to outpace to the double Dragon Claw. The opponent recognised we're doubled up and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see the new kid on the block, a Regidrago in the lead position. Not a particularly good matchup for the opponent, as we are Rock and Steel, meaning these Dragon Breaths are resisted, and Regidrago only has Dragon type charge moves. I think they actually learn Hyper Beam, but no one runs that. They're all going to be running Dragon Energy as its new legacy move. Right on cue, there is the Dragon Energy. That actually quite a lot of resisted damage, but Aron able to tank it, leaving with residual energy good to go. Out comes Scizor. Scizor instantly going to be debuffed by the Rock Tomb. Rather than concede a farm down, we see the pivot into Servine. This is by no means a good matchup for Servine. We have definitely got a massive bulk advantage in this matchup. And we're going to debuff Scizor's defense, firing off this wrap. Wrap goes unshielded. These Vine Whips are double resisted, but are starting to add up. The opponent going to outpace to the Night Slash. Servine able to hang on. We commit to the next wrap and we're able to reach it. This will either knock out or force the final Protect Shield of the game. The opponent goes all in on Scizor despite being on low HP. We send out Dragonite. The opponent pivots into Stunfisk. We farm up, make the catch, back onto Aron. And that should be the final now in this opponent's coffin. I think here Zach has just got to farm up to the double Dragon Claw. Scizor doesn't have a charge move bank. So as long as we can Dragon Breath this Stunfisk into range where Dragon Claw is lethal, we should be home and dry. The Dragon Breath's tearing through Stunfisk. This Dragon Claw will certainly get the job done, unless I've miscounted. The opponent doesn't have a charge move bang. We see the Bullet Punch sneak. Dragonite able to fire off the Dragon Claw, and that is going to be all she wrote. Another very, very well played game. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Azumarill in the lead position. Hardly any Azumarill run Hydro Pump, so despite the bubbles being super effective, the charge move should be fully walled. Aron going to strike first, firing off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb instantly puts Azumarill below the half health range. Whilst hardly any Azumarills run Hydro Pump, if you are someone that enjoys this bulky, boring blue mouse, even if you haven't got Hydro Pump, my top tip would be faking it till you make it. The opponent threw after only 6 bubbles, that couldn't have been a Hydro Pump. At least farm to it and potentially force a shield. Zach threw the next Rock Tomb on the charge attack priority, moving Azumarill from the field of play. The opponent sends out Charger Bug. Don't shield the Rock Tomb. What are you saving these shields for? Out comes a Bomber Snow, so I guess saving 2 shields for a Bomber Snow is actually a correct play, as this thing is so good into the remainder of our team. The issue with this Shadow of Bomber Snow is that it is so glassy. We're going to shoot up the Icy Wind, fire off the wrap. Going to force a debuff on a Bomber Snow's defense, and I think here we can just save our shield for Dragonite. Tap, 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 and Dragon Breath farm down the remainder of the team. Zach agrees, saving the final protection for Dragonite. Icy Wind removes Servine from the field of play. Dragonite very quickly deletes a Bomber Snow, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see the dreaded Swampert lead. This time we're going to say switch into Servine, and out comes Typhlosion. We've seen this Grass Snake flip so many matchups, but this one is certainly one we won't be flipping. We land the wrap. These Vine Whips still aren't doing much of anything. We look to fire off the Leaf Tornado, but do lose CMP. I'd be interested to see what Zach does here. If we send out Dragonite, we'll be forced to shield up the incoming Thunder Punches. We could send out Aron and just sacrifice it and roll with a 2-shield Dragonite. Zach has other ideas. Going to shield Aron, correctly shield up the Blast, but we should be able to Metal Sound farm down afterwards. But this energy doesn't go too far into that Swampert. We're going to bank the energy, see the pivot into Dragonite. The opponent is opting to stay in, revealing they might be weak in the back. Sludge hits for neutral. As a non-shadow, it is survivable. It still does a lot, to be fair, and out comes Superior. Zach gonna burn the final Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Aerial Ace. Zach gonna return fire with the Dragon Claw, which should finally strip the first Protect Shield of the game. Dragon Claw does exactly that. Zach wastes no time, fires off the next one. Does a catch even save us, or potentially a snipe? We're gonna farm up, make the catch, back onto Aron. This is only an Aerial Ace as well. Aerial Ace very easily survivable. Zach gonna overfarm as much as he physically can. Rock Tomb should remove the Grass Snake from the field of play. Swampert solo that maybe a Rock Tomb gets the job done. Moment of truth, is Rock Tomb enough to knock out? No, it's not, but one further Metal Sound gets the job done, and we take that game. In the next battle, we're stuck in a time warp. This thing really is a blast from the past. Those you OGs will remember a time when Defense Deoxys was a staple in the Great League meta. The nerf to counter means this thing is very rarely seen. We save switch into Dragonite, shield at the Psycho boost, and out comes Umbreon. Zach's probably facing an opponent that's had a long layoff from playing the game. Defense Deoxys and Umbreon core was very strong, maybe about 2 or 3 seasons ago. I imagine this opponent's probably just running whatever they had built, trying to get up to speed with the new meta. I think both of these Pokemon are still alright, to be fair. They're both really bulky, both have play, they're just kind of outclassed by other Pokemon nowadays. We're able to take back switch, back out comes Defense Deoxys, we chip with the Dragon Claw and realign, ascending Superior into Defense Deoxys. Once again the opponent goes to Psycho Boost and likely pivot into whatever their third is. The opponent continues to stay in, revealing they might be weak in the back. The opponent looks to reach the next Psycho Boost, they don't get there, and it all starts to make sense as out comes Greninja. One Vine Whip and the first Leaf Tornado. Servine so ahead in energy, able to fire off one further Vine Whip and the next Leaf Tornado, maintaining disciplined fast move timing, and right on cue there's the catch back onto Aron. Night Slash doesn't do much of anything. However, the opponent is going to be able to outpace to the Hydro Cannon. The Hydro Cannon should be moving Aron from the field of play. It does exactly that, but Servine going to re-enter the arena, outpace to one further Leaf Tornado, and we take that game. GG's to that opponent, and shout out the old school team. In the next battle, we see the battle of the Rock and Steel types with Aron into Bastiodon. Our quick move of Metal Sound at least hits for neutral, whereas the Smackdowns are resisted. However, charge move wise, we're fully walled, whereas a Flamethrower would hit for neutral. Aron able to outpace, applying the debuff before the first Flamethrowers reach. That Flamethrower non-stab and doesn't do too much damage. Aron continuing to play it out, going to fire off one further Rock Tomb, finally getting Bastiodon below half health. Aron actually able to outpace to the third Rock Tomb. Whilst this won't be lethal, it should enable us to survive a Flamethrower. Is Aron actually going to win the Zero Shield matchup here? I think we survive this Flamethrower. Not well, but we do survive. Can Aron now Metal Sound down? Aron actually beats Bastiodon in the Zero Shield scenario and leaves a Rock Tomb good to go. You've heard it here first. Aron definitely better than Bastiodon. I bloody hate that stupid wall. Aron winning the lead matchup gives us a perfect alignment in the back. We've got Dragonite for Venusaur and Servine for Azumarill. The Investor Protect Shield get baited with the Frenzy Plant. Zach looks at the Dragon Breath farm down, but unable to get there before the Sludge Bombs reach. We're actually going to go down both Protect Shields, leave with Residual Energy good to go. This Hurricane probably goes unshielded as the opponent thinks they fully wall us and probably going to save moves for the incoming grass moves. Hurricane does so much damage. Dragonite in a rare turn of events, able to get the double resisted Dragon Breath farm down on a Fairy type, and we take that game. In the next battle, this time Zach sees an opposing Dragonite. We're happy to stay in. We build to the Rock Tomb bait with the Body Slam. I recognise the opponents are likely going to shield everything. Zach correctly shields up the superpower. The opponent then pivots out into Drapion, and Drapion instantly going to fall victim of the very annoying debuff treatment. Rock Tomb goes unshielded. Monstrous damage. As the debuff, this Aquatail is very survivable. We tank the damage, pivot into Dragonite, and Dragonite able to get the Dragon Breath snipe. Unfortunately for Zach, the opponent doesn't re-enter the mirror, instead reveal their third, which is a very good Dragonite answer in the form of the Dedenne. That Dragon Claw double resisted and did absolutely nothing. The opponent fire off the Parabolic Charge, removing us from the field of play and also buffing up their own defense. This could be quite a tricky endgame for Zach. We send out Servine. We've not only got to remove this Dedenne, but also that Dragonite that's fairly healthy, and Aron is so low it's probably nothing more than a sacrificial swap. Speaking of which, we make the attempted play rough catch onto Aron. The opponent full sent the nuke, then pivot back out into Dragonite. The opponent is going to strike first, firing off the Dragon Claw. Zach going to invest the Protect Shield, throw one Vine Whip and the Wrap. Hopefully the opponent shield the first, meaning the second will knock out. The opponent obliges, shielding the first move. Zach able to outpace, reaching the next Wrap. This Wrap will move in Dragonite from the field of play. Can we Vine Whip farm down the low health to Dene before they reach a charge move? Yes, we can. Very close game. GG's to both trainers. Heading into the final battle of today's Shoutcast, and we see an absolutely awful lead. Oh man, we're hard punished on the switch as well. We say switch into Dragonite and out comes Dugong. We farm up, baiting a superpower, forcing the first Protect Shield of the game. Back out comes Aron. Tough decision to make. We call the opponent going to be horny for the debuff. What a call. No shield on the Icy Wind there. Gives us a fighting chance of getting ourselves back in the battle. Zach then correctly shields up the Drill Run. Zach, despite having awful alignment, making all the right calls, we're then able to farm up, attempt the Drill Run catch onto Servine. Oh my days, what a play. We're able to bait the Angry Ape back onto the battlefield. The opponent going to fire off the Rage Fist, easily survivable. Zach going to return fire with the Leaf Tornado, and the opponent now has a decision to make. They go all in on the Ape, invest the Protect Shield, get the counter farm down, and it's now Aron versus the world. Aron wastes no time, fires off the Rock Tomb, which is resisted, but still removes them from the field of play. Out comes the Dene, and this suddenly looked very, very winnable. Aron going to fire off the Rock Tomb puts them into the red health range. The opponent tried to make a catch. Zach holds his energy, over farms, fires off the Body Slam. Body Slam will be moving Dugong from the field of play, and despite awful alignment, this one will be ending in victory. Zach going to shield up the incoming Parabolic Charge. Body Slam would have got the job done. We're going to put the Stamp of Authority, force into their Rock Tomb, and that is going to be all she wrote. What a way to end today's Shoutcast. A huge shout out to Poryzak for showcasing not one, but two buff Pokemon that we've probably all forgotten about. But I'll be honest, both Aron and Servine put in a lot of work today and look like very fun, very cool, spicy anti-meta picks. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you'd like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.